This peculiar incident took place during my 10th grade year, on the day of our exams. While most students were accustomed to burning the midnight oil, I adhered to my mother's advice and preferred to tackle my studies in the early hours of the morning. For almost 2 years, I had been residing in a dormitory managed by nuns. The dormitory was not only a safe haven but also conveniently located near my school. Our dormitory was adorned with statues of famous saints, and just outside our door stood a statue of Mother Teresa. My room was situated on the second floor, directly in front of the study hall. From there, I had a clear view of the stairs inside and the serene path leading to the chapel. Yes, we even had a chapel on the premises, along with a pool that had succumbed to neglect and was now covered in moss, abandoned for reasons unknown. On that particular morning, I awoke at 2:45 a.m. I turned on the lights in the study hall, illuminating only the area where I intended to spend most of my time studying, near the door to the outside stairs and the window with a charging port. After leaving my belongings there, I made my way to the common room for a quick bath, determined to get everything done before my 7 a.m. exams. Returning to the study hall after my bath, I opened the window to welcome the cool, pre-dawn air. As I immersed myself in my studies, the clock ticking away, 5 a.m. arrived. My back ached from hours of reading, prompting me to stand up for a few stretches. The window, conveniently positioned just below my belly button, offered a panoramic view of the grounds outside. With the sun beginning to peek over the horizon, I could see everything clearly below. Directly beneath me was our chapel. Typically, the nuns didn't rise until 6 a.m., the time when they opened the doors and windows. I found it odd that someone was already present in the chapel when I peered down. The chapel, though not expansive, could accommodate 20 or 30 people, and its gates were composed entirely of metal bars. Perplexed, I wondered if the nuns were already awake. As I observed the scene, I noticed that the lights in the chapel were off, and the gates were securely closed. I couldn't dismiss what I saw, a figure seated on the last row, engaged in prayer. Alone in my dormitory, everyone else still in the blissful embrace of sleep, the realization hit me. I was the only one who had witnessed this mysterious presence. Uncertainty gripped me, and a shiver ran down my spine. Unsure if it was a real person or a specter from another realm, I hurriedly retreated to my room, seeking refuge. The chilling encounter left me questioning the boundaries between the seen and the unseen, especially in a place like Bacolod, near La Salle, where the supernatural often intertwined with the mundane. My brother and I share a room in the heart of New York City, where space is a luxury we can't afford. The hustle and bustle of city life provide a constant backdrop to our daily struggles with the limitations of our tiny living quarters. But it's within these cramped walls that a bizarre and unsettling incident unfolded, leaving me questioning reality and afraid of the dark. The catalyst for this spine-chilling tale was my brother's recent acceptance into college. Excitement buzzed in the air as he introduced me to his soon-to-be college buddy from outside the city. They had big plans to hit the town, and the plan was for his friend to crash in another room at our house. Falling victim to the exhaustion of the day, I succumbed to sleep before my brother and his buddy returned home. It must have been around 3:45 a.m. when I found myself jolted awake. The room was dimly lit, and there, my brother slept peacefully in his bed. But my gaze was drawn to something unsettling. A figure that looked remarkably like my brother's friend was snoozing at the edge of his bed. In my foggy, half-asleep state, I chalked it up to some change of plans or a spur-of-the-moment decision to share the bed. Too fatigued to investigate further, I shrugged off the peculiar sight and attempted to return to the arms of Morpheus. Little did I know that this seemingly inconsequential incident would cast a shadow over the next morning. As the morning sun peeked through the curtains, I roused myself from slumber around 7:30 a.m., ready to face the day. However, to my surprise, my brother's friend was nowhere to be found. Confused and slightly uneasy, I descended the stairs, hoping to catch a glimpse of him in the common areas. But the house remained eerily quiet, devoid of any trace of our overnight guest. Perplexed, I decided to get to the bottom of this mystery and confronted my brother about the odd situation. Much to my bewilderment, he denied any such event, stating that his friend hadn't set foot in our house the night before. Doubt nagged at me as I grappled with the disparity between my first-hand experience and my brother's account. Turning to modern technology, I consulted SnapMap, only to find evidence supporting my brother's version of events. His friend was indeed at his own house during the night in question. The revelation sent shivers down my spine. The unsettling image of my brother's friend at the edge of the bed lingered in my thoughts, and a sense of fear and confusion enveloped me. Afraid of sounding ridiculous, I kept the strange encounter to myself, unsure of what to make of this bizarre reality. As night descended once again, a tangible sense of trepidation settled within me. The room, once a haven of familiarity, now harbored an unspoken unease. The mysterious figure from the night before loomed in my thoughts, casting a shadow over my confidence in the safety of the dark. With a heavy heart, I braced myself for another night, haunted by the inexplicable and dreading what the darkness might reveal. In the late 80s, during my time in a peculiar house known for its dark history, an unsettling event transpired that still freaks me out. The house, with its macabre past, had become my temporary residence for about 4 months. It was during this period that my best friend, Joe, and I found ourselves entangled in a bizarre encounter. Joe and I, both working as station supervisors on the London Underground, shared a close bond that extended beyond the professional realm. Our friendship was characterized by mutual pranks, keeping each other on our toes. The cramped living conditions in the murder house did little to dampen our spirits as we navigated through life with a shared love for mischief. Despite being 7 years my senior at the age of 26, Joe and I maintained a light-hearted camaraderie. The only point of contention was his penchant for occasionally helping himself to my belongings, especially after a few beers. From pilfering pizzas to swiping a quarter bottle of brandy I had been saving, Joe's apologies often came in the form of a note accompanied by 20 pounds, humorously clipped to the refrigerator door. His infectious laughter had a way of diffusing any tension, making it impossible for either of us to take anything too seriously. One night, after the brandy incident, I decided to outsmart Joe. I stashed the new bottle under my bed, and that night, as I slept peacefully, I was awakened by the subtle movement of my bed. There was Joe, a bit tipsy, attempting to access my hidden treasure. Frustration welled up within me, but instead of exploding in anger, I handed him the bottle with a sarcastic, "Just take it and go." The following night, having had enough, I locked my bedroom door and sternly warned Joe not to intrude. A couple of nights later, my sleep was disrupted by the unmistakable sound of someone attempting to jiggle my door handle. Assuming it was Joe up to his usual antics, I plotted a prank to teach him a lesson. As I prepared to execute the prank, an unexpected wave of weariness washed over me. I abandoned the idea and returned to bed, opting to let Joe tire himself out with his futile attempts to open my locked door. Hours later, I was awakened by Joe's urgent voice outside my door. "Leica, come out carefully, and don't freak out. I've already called the police." His tone was noticeably different from his usual jovial self. Unlocking my door cautiously, I was met with a chilling sight. Every knife in the house, from the sharp chef's knives to the steak knives, was arranged on the landing outside my room in a semicircle, all pointed menacingly towards my door. It was a surreal and terrifying scene. Joe explained that he hadn't been home all night. After finishing his shift around 11 p.m., he volunteered for a double shift when the night foreman failed to show up. He arrived home to discover signs of a break-in, with a downstairs window forced open and items moved around. The police, initially dismissive due to the lack of apparent harm or theft, arrived and took note of the unsettling patterns in which items had been rearranged around the house. The strange incident left us with a lingering sense of dread, contemplating the grim possibilities had I gone through with my prank, unaware that the intruder was someone far more sinister than my mischievous friend Joe.